What is going on, everybody? We're going to be talking a little NBA Finals today, Game 2. Try to see if we can get different, see what we learned from Game 1, and see what we can try and do to win. What is it? It's not $1 million today, is it? I didn't actually look at the prize thing yet. Oh,
it doesn't matter. It's not paying anybody $1 million. Don't worry about it.
No, I think it's 100,000 today. How much? I wonder how many people split the first one. Do you have any idea? I didn't see.
I didn't check.
I always try to check that stuff because every now and then somebody will squeak through with something, but usually it's more in football than it is in basketball. All right, so let's talk about this, Sheets. We've got very limited options here. At first glance, okay, so first of all, who do you think is going to win the game?
Dude, I was all over. I was all over this. This is like really funny. So all these my sons, all of his friends from UVA were they were out of their place over the weekend, whatever it is, and then they came back to our house and they were hanging out, and they kind of know about me from whatever, and we just kind of BS about other stuff. And they were all going to watch the game, at the house, and they said, "So who do you like in the game?" And I'm like, "Well, we don't even know who's playing yet. This is like, half hour before the game." They're like, "Oh, I think Giannis is going to play." I'm like, "Well, we don't know yet." It's like, he says, "Well, what if Giannis plays?" I'm like, "Well, then I like Phoenix." They're like, "Huh?" I mean, what if he doesn't play? I'm like, "I like Milwaukee." And like, "What are you talking?" I'm like, "Well, you asked, right?" So I look pretty good because I said, "By the way, Giannis plays." And they, "Well, who do you like?" I'm like, "Come on, we talked about this." Like, okay. So I look pretty good the other day. What is the spread in this game today?
5. Pretty good.
Where is this? This game is where?
Phoenix.
And I'm getting 5 points with Milwaukee?
Yeah.
I'll try it.
I'll do the same.
I'll try it.
I don't need to think about it too much. So that's where I'm at in terms of the game. Why don't you pull up your screen and we'll try and see if we can come up with something here.
I will. I'll be the sucker. I'll try that.
I feel a tiny bit stubborn in my liking Milwaukee still in this being a tough series because everything I was worried about for them, I didn't even feel like they played terribly. They went through stretches where they couldn't make shots, but Phoenix is tough, man. Like this is a team that really plays together, that really knows each other. All the little cliches of things that you talk about when you want a championship kind of team. Of all the teams with the most identity and know who they are, especially down the stretch of games or when the games get close, like when they cut it to 7 in the last game. Just every play for Phoenix after that didn't look like an ISO play for Chris Middleton. And, it's sort of like leads me to like Phoenix in the closer games in this series and like Milwaukee in the game. Milwaukee has a better chance to win and, winning by 10 plus, I feel like they do, than they keep it close. So maybe I shouldn't just take the points. I should just take the money line on Milwaukee. But I do think they put up a better effort out tonight. I think they make some adjustments. I think they play the small ball lineup a little bit more. I think you'll see a little bit more. I think it depends. I mean, if Lopez plays well and is shooting the ball well early on, I think you'll see Lopez. But for the most part, they definitely played a lot better without him in the last game. They still tend to give him his minutes and all that. But those minutes, he played 22 minutes in the last game as opposed where he was playing, well, I guess with Giannis, he was playing high 30s. But with Giannis, he was even in the low 20s against Atlanta. The only team he really played all the minutes against, which didn't make a lot of sense, was Brooklyn. So, all right, so let's talk about it.
So let's start. How about this? Let's start with Dario Saric being out for the rest of the series. Right. That I presume opens up all kinds of stuff. Not the least of which being Torrey Craig is probably going to. I imagine he's going to be pretty popular, right?
I don't think he's going to be popular. He's not at a good price. He's not like at a crazy savings. Doesn't really do anything on the court offensively. You look at his totals. He played 12 minutes against the Clippers in Game 2. Had 0 fantasy points. He had 0 fantasy points in Game 4 in that series. He played the 11 minutes against the Clippers. He had 8 fantasy points. He had 2 games. He had an 18 and a 16 in there when he played 30 minutes. And then in the one game, he made a couple threes. Okay. But yeah, I would imagine it'll open up a little bit. I don't think it opens up much. I mean, there's only, 10 minutes a game that Saric is playing. So I'm not playing Kaminsky. I'm not playing Teague for cheap on the other side, I don't think. Okay. They did play. The only argument I have for Teague is that they kind of do need more guards on the court, but he just doesn't move like the rest of the guys do.
The other guy, by the way, that we used to play a lot when we knew that Sarge was out was Jay Crowder. I mean, he was beginning the minutes anyway, and if you want to, go against recency bias, I mean, like his last game, he didn't do anything. I mean, look at his game log: 33 minutes. He's 0 for 8 from the field.
Yeah,
1 point. 13 fantasy points. I mean, he got 9 rebounds, whatever. So if people are going to shy away from him, I mean, those as locked as those minutes were before, I mean, now they're like uber locked, I think. Maybe he has a good bounce back candidate.
Yeah, I would increase his minutes projection somewhere in the high 30s, 36ish. I also think that it benefits Cam Johnson. But I don't really think the Sarge thing is really what's doing this. I mean, Cam Johnson, as long as he plays well, will be out there, I think. Oh, they made him 6K?
Yeah.
Woo.
It's tough.
I mean, if no one's going to do it, maybe that's the thing we have to try and do. I mean, I'm just looking for ways to get different. He's a guy who can shoot himself into. He played really, really well. Some closing minutes even in the last game, or closing halves and everything.
I think Crowder's got to be the dude. I don't know.
Okay. Well, to get different, Crowder's not certainly going to be popular. So to get different, Forbes and Craig, I prefer Forbes just because he actually shoots the ball. Craig probably has a higher upside in minutes. Connaughton, I think, has more minutes in him than is being projected for. I think he's going to be closer to 30 instead of 22, but he also is 6K. I'm sorry, he's also 4K. That what it is? Yeah, Cam Johnson's actually 6K. Jeez. I thought maybe I got it mixed up there. PJ Tucker, look, I think he'll play minutes. I think you're going to see him on Booker more, and I think you'll see Drew on Chris Paul. So I like. I don't mind the idea of PJ Tucker. I'm going to play Giannis. I'm going to play Middleton. I'm going to play one of the Phoenix guys, if not two. So I need some value. And I'm looking at a combination of Forbes, Craig, and I still like Campaign, although I just don't think he's going to be overlooked tonight. That's the other one who I wanted to get involved with tonight. Definitely has a little bit of upside on his minutes, and I could see him having a good game at home where he's been a little bit better. So the other one is Bobby Portis, who is just too cheap now for people not to take some interest in. Doesn't need to get any minutes. Could play 25. You don't really know with this guy, but I think more likely he ends up around 10. Anyway, it's the way I would try and do it is try to get one of these low-owned guys into your stacks. I think in terms of captain, you do have some different options. You could play Ayton. You could play Giannis. You could play Middleton. And I think you can play obviously either Paul or Booker. But I think that for me, I would lean Ayton and Giannis over the rest. How about you?
I think I want to play Milwaukee. I think that I like Milwaukee against the spread. Yeah. And you guys, those of you who haven't been doing that, I mean, I always say I have no opinion. The one opinion I had the whole season was on a freaking halftime bet as far as the NBA goes. This is a fucking lock. I'm sorry. And this is ridiculous. Anyway, with respect to my lineups, I can't really show you without unsharing my screen. So this is a little bit whatever, but I do have a bunch of guys that you. Right now, I have a bunch of Torrey Craig, but I think I'm gonna probably up my Jay Crowder. I think Milwaukee +5 has got to be at least 50.1%. Which is obviously not great, but this is to me is kind of standard NBA psychologist theory. First of all, same reason I thought Milwaukee was a fade in the first game because people, were so excited that Giannis is actually going to play. Thought Phoenix is pretty good. And I think the Phoenix rates to even actually be a little more on the overconfident side coming into this game. And I think Milwaukee, I don't know if I would bet him outright, although I certainly would consider that. I think Milwaukee +5 is the play here. But as far as DFS, I would play Jay Crowder. I'd play Torrey Craig. Those are the guys I'm getting to the most. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, as I'm trying to build here, I'm looking at it, and I think that maybe one interesting thing we could do. So much of the offense was run through Middleton, and Drew Holiday was just terrible in the last game. I don't expect him to be so terrible. So maybe leaving 1,000 on the table and playing Holiday over Middleton is something you could do that would be unlikely.
Okay.
Betting on him to outscore him, so something like that. But I do think Giannis is going to be my primary captain, and I think you're going to get a little bit of Ayton. That's pretty much the captains I'm looking at. I don't really see anybody else being as viable. Maybe you could argue for Drew. He's the only other one.
Yeah, but what about captaining a guy? I think about this a lot. What about captaining a guy that is not going to be the top scorer, but just that opens up everything else? Is there any way that makes sense today?
Wait, say that one more time, Sheets.
Like guys that guys that you'll captain, not because they're going to be the top scorer, but because that's
this feels, the playoff slates in general are terrible for that.
Okay.
I don't think one of them's hit yet. Like it's just you're losing way too many points. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You need to get a sure thing. If there was, it would be maybe a guy like your Crowder, and you hope he gets 35 and nobody else gets above 50.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know what to how to do that. It's only worked in the playoffs so far when we've had injuries, so I just can't get behind it.
Yeah, I can't like look at my lineups on my screen without sharing it. So I'm just like looking through on my phone. Like right now, what I built is actually the more traditional type builds. Like only the guys that have a shot to score the highest are in there. So I do have some Booker, some Middleton, obviously Giannis. I'm just trying to scroll through and see if I can. If I play any nonsense. Now, this particular one, I didn't play a lot of nonsense in the captain, and it means I'm probably gonna, be going to share stuff. I do have Drew in one. That could be something like you said. Yeah. Now you can play more. By the way, you can play blowout guys also. Like even though we only got four minutes. I mean, if you really want, you can try Kaminsky again at 1K.
Yeah, it just depends on the blowout. Like, I really think that blowouts are different in the playoffs. They're not really the same blowouts. It could work out for Kaminsky. He could make a couple threes, stay on the court, and have the bench unit do a good job, and then he gets the second half run and ends up at 12, 14 minutes.
I just think about it because I'm just back to this idea that Saric being out maybe means more than it actually does. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I feel as though I'm supposed to do something about that.
He was only supposed to play like 8 or 10 minutes. Like he wasn't,
Okay.
Like they don't need a big man on the court.
Okay.
But it's not the Saric stuff. I do think Kaminsky could, but the thing is, look, that's a shooter who could get hot, and the bench unit could have a good 6-minute stretch with him on there, which would open up second half minutes. And if they're up by 20, they're not going to take him out probably as long as he's playing well at some point. You know what I mean? Maybe 25. It's a little different in the playoffs though, because we saw 20-point leads shrink to 7 in like, what was it? It was like 90 seconds in the last game. So usually unless you're up 30 plus, you don't really see that unless the bench unit is currently helping you pull away.
Right.
You're not going to get like 10 minutes of fourth quarter run out of these guys because they're up by 35. And well, no, they'd have to be up by 35. Let me just put it that way, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, so I think there's some ways to go tonight. I'll try and update it again at 6 Eastern when we come back. But good luck to everybody out there, and hopefully we can crush this one.